Imagine you are sitting on a crowded airplane or a bustling city bus. The roar of the jet engines and the screech of brakes create a wall of chaotic noise that feels like a physical weight on your chest. You reach into your bag, pull out a pair of high-end noise-canceling headphones, and slide them over your ears. You flip the switch. In a heartbeat, the world vanishes. The chaos is replaced by a thick, velvety silence that feels almost supernatural. You exhale, feeling the tension leave your shoulders. You think you've finally found a way to protect your peace. But inside your skull, something very different is happening. Your brain, suddenly starved of the external data it relies on to calibrate your reality, begins to panic. It doesn't like the void. In its desperate attempt to find a signal in that artificial vacuum, it does something that could change your life forever. It turns up its internal volume knob to the maximum, and that is when the phantom ringing starts. This isn't just a minor glitch in your perception. Most people believe that noise-canceling technology is a shield for their hearing, but this is a dangerous misunderstanding of how the human auditory system actually functions. Your brain is a highly active signal processor, not a passive receiver. It is constantly adjusting its sensitivity based on the environment around you. When you enter a loud room, your brain turns down its internal gain to protect itself. But when you create an artificial, pressurized silence through phase reversal technology, you are tricking your brain into thinking you've entered a sensory deprivation chamber. To compensate for the total lack of input, the auditory cortex increases its neural gain. It starts searching for even the faintest vibration. And when it finds nothing, it begins to amplify its own internal electrical noise. This is the biological origin of the high-pitched hiss that so many users report after just an hour of wearing these devices. We have been sold the idea that silence is always healthy. But there is a massive difference between the natural silence of a quiet forest and the artificial silence created by destructive interference. Natural silence still contains the subtle rustle of leaves or the distant hum of the wind, providing the brain with a baseline. Artificial silence is a black hole of sound. It creates a vacuum that forces your synapses to fire at a frantic rate just to maintain a baseline of activity. If you are already dealing with a slight ringing or a feeling of fullness in your ears, these headphones are effectively pouring gasoline on the fire. You are training your brain to become hypersensitive to sounds that aren't even there. This is why many people find that their tinnitus feels 10 times louder the moment they take the headphones off. Their brain is stuck in a high-gain state, screaming into the void you created. To truly understand why this silence is so aggressive, you have to look at the thalamus. Think of the thalamus as the gatekeeper of your mind. Its job is to filter out the thousands of background noises that don't matter, so you can focus on what does. When you use active noise-canceling technology, you are essentially firing the gatekeeper. You are removing the external signals that the thalamus uses to stay calibrated. Without those signals, the gatekeeper falls asleep, and every tiny electrical spark in your auditory nerve is suddenly treated like a fire alarm. This isn't just an annoyance, it is a fundamental shift in your neural architecture. You are teaching your brain to prioritize phantom sounds over reality. If you want to see how this internal volume knob is affecting your cognitive focus right now, there is a specific biological reset that targets this thalamic gatekeeper, which you can explore on the page linked below this video. The physical sensation of pressure that many people feel when they turn on noise-canceling headphones is the first warning sign. This isn't actual air pressure. Your ears aren't being squeezed. What you are feeling is your brain trying to make sense of a signal that shouldn't exist. The headphones are emitting a counter sound, an inverted wave that cancels out the incoming noise. While your ears can't hear this counter sound, your brain can sense the unnatural lack of pressure variations. It perceives this as an abnormality, often triggering the acoustic reflex, a tiny muscle contraction in the middle ear intended to protect you from loud noises. By using these devices, you are keeping those tiny muscles in a state of constant, exhausted tension. You are wearing out the very machinery you are trying to protect. This chronic tension leads to a condition that many Americans over 45 are now calling digital ear fatigue. It's a dull ache, a feeling of being clogged, or a lingering hiss that doesn't go away even after the headphones are back in their case. You think you're being responsible by blocking out the world, but you are actually creating a sensory mismatch that confuses your vestibular system. This is why some people feel dizzy or nauseous after using these devices. Your eyes see the world moving, but your ears are telling your brain that the world is a static, silent void. The result is a neurological conflict that manifests as physical pain and mental fog. You aren't resting your brain. You are putting it through a grueling workout in a vacuum. If you already suffer from any form of auditory sensitivity, the danger is even more acute. When the brain is forced into a high-gain state for hours a day, it begins to lose its ability to regulate neurotransmitters like GABA. As we've discussed in previous deep dives, GABA is the peacekeeper of the brain. It is the chemical that tells your neurons to be quiet. Artificial silence effectively starves the GABA system. Without the natural brake pedal of external sound to trigger its release, your auditory nerves stay in a state of permanent excitation. This is the physiological bridge between using a luxury tech gadget and developing chronic, life-altering ear pain. You are hollowing out your brain's natural defense mechanisms in exchange for a few minutes of quiet. The industry won't tell you this because they are selling a lifestyle. They want you to believe that you can simply switch off the world. But the human brain was never designed to exist in a silent vacuum. We are biological creatures that evolved in a world of constant, subtle vibrations. When you remove those vibrations, you are essentially unplugging your brain from its power source. The ringing you hear is the sound of your neural circuits desperately searching for a connection that you've cut off. It is the sound of your brain trying to heal itself in the dark. If you are noticing that your focus is snapping, or that your memory is starting to feel smeared after a day of wearing these headphones, you are witnessing the early stages of a synaptic brownout. The good news is that this isn't a permanent death sentence for your silence, provided you understand how to re-insulate those frayed wires. You can see the exact steps to perform a neural recalibration by visiting the link in the description. Think about the long-term cost of this artificial isolation. Every hour you spend in that high-gain vacuum is an hour your brain is spending burning its own memory centers to stay active. It is a biological trade-off that many people don't realize they are making until the ringing becomes a permanent part of their life. This is the silence tax. You pay with your mental clarity. You pay with your ability to follow a conversation in a crowded restaurant later that night. You pay with the very peace you were trying to find. By trying to hide from the world, you are making yourself more vulnerable to it. The solution isn't to live in a construction zone, but to stop treating silence as a commodity that can be bought in a store. True auditory health comes from a brain that is well calibrated and nerves that are properly insulated. It comes from a system that can handle the noise of the world without panicking. When your myelin, the fatty insulation of your nerves, is healthy and your GABA levels are balanced, you don't need a $100 pair of headphones to find peace. Your brain does the filtering for you, naturally and effortlessly. This is the baseline of human health that most of us have forgotten. We have traded our internal resilience for external gadgets, and our ears are paying the price. If you are already at the point where you feel you need these headphones just to get through the day, you are already in the grip of the addiction. Your brain has become so hypersensitive that the normal world feels painfully loud. You are caught in a loop where the headphones provide temporary relief, but worsen the underlying hypersensitivity every time you use them. To break this cycle, you have to stop the vacuum. You have to give your brain the raw materials it needs to repair the gatekeeper and turn the volume knob back down to a healthy level. This isn't about toughing it out. It's about structural repair. It's about restoring the electrical roads that connect your ears to your consciousness. Most doctors will tell you that the ringing is just something you have to live with. They see the headphones as a separate issue, unrelated to the biology of the mind. They are looking at the ears while the storm is raging in the brain. But reclaiming your silence is possible if you target the source of the electrical leakage. You can find the detailed protocol for this synaptic repair, a method that has helped thousands of people reset their internal volume and fire the gatekeeper back into action by clicking the link below. Don't let a luxury accessory become a permanent neurological burden. Your brain is meant to engage with the world, not hide from it. The clock is ticking on your neural plasticity. Every day you spend in that high-gain state, those phantom pathways become more established. They become the new normal for your brain. But the brain is resilient. It wants to find balance. It wants to be quiet. You just have to give it the environment and the nutrients it needs to stop screaming. The hissing in your ears is a distress signal, not a permanent condition. It is your brain asking for its baseline back. Take the first step toward a silence that is actually silent. Watch the breakdown of the Synaptic reset protocol at the link below and see how much your artificial peace is currently costing you. It is time to turn off the headphones and turn back on your brain's natural ability to heal. Every single minute you spend in that pressurized vacuum is a minute your synapses are reaching out for a signal that isn't there, fraying their own ends in the process. You think you're escaping the stress of the world, but you're actually inducing a state of deep metabolic stress inside your auditory cortex. The brain doesn't just process sound, it expects it as a form of nutrient. When you starve it, it eats itself. This is why the ringing often feels like it's coming from the center of your head, rather than just your ears. It is a central nervous system alert. When you look at the design of these noise-canceling chips, they are marketed as smart. But they aren't smart enough to know that your brain has a survival instinct. That instinct is what's causing the gain to spike. It's the same reason your eyes adjust in a pitch-black room. You're looking for light. In that silent void, your brain is looking for sound. If it can't find it, it makes it. This is why we see such a high correlation between noise-canceling usage and the development of hyperacusis, where even a dishwasher sounds like a jet engine. Your brain has lost its ability to gate incoming energy because it's been living in a vacuum. To fix this, you have to re-insulate. You have to provide the fatty acids and the mineral cofactors that the myelin sheath requires to seal the leaks. Without that seal, the gain will stay high forever. You can't just relax your way out of a structural failure. You have to provide the building blocks of the repair. If you've been feeling like your head is underwater, or if you find yourself reaching for the off switch on your headphones more and more lately, listen to that intuition. It's your biological alarm system telling you that the boundary is being crossed. You have the power to recalibrate. You have the power to restore the GABA peacekeeper and bring true, natural silence back into your life. But it starts with acknowledging that the gadget isn't the solution. It's part of the problem. Reconnect with the natural soundscape of your world. Let your brain hear the subtle vibrations it was built to interpret. And most importantly, give your nervous system the support it needs to repair the damage that artificial silence has inflicted. Your ears don't need a filter. Your brain needs a reset. The path back to a sharp, quiet mind is open, but you have to be willing to take the headphones off and face the noise long enough to heal the circuit. Visit the link in the description now to see exactly how this repair protocol can change your life before the damage becomes a permanent part of your identity. Your focus, your memory, and your peace of mind are worth more than any pair of headphones.